rebels in Syria will get more assistance from the UK, the Foreign Secretary has told the BBC. Details, he said, would be announced to Parliament later this week. But William Hague said Britain couldn't rule out providing arms to the rebels in the future.
Unbelievable. William Hague, who was once such a lovely man, I am sure, is like every MP in a position of power, talking complete bullshit. You see, as people slowly wake up and realise the mainstream media is losing more and more credibility, people like Hague have to try and keep a lid on things, because if we realise the war in Syria is a farce, and that the war in Libya was a farce and only about oil, banks and a new currency, then the whole house of cards might just start to wobble, and once it does, once it falls, we will see these scumbags for what they really are. Hague says here that he doesn't want to send arms to Syrian rebels, but that he wouldn't rule it out, basically if they don't get their own way. They're going to send more non-lethal equipment, but not arms, at least not yet. Bullshit, Mr. Hague, and you know it.
I will not be announcing this week arms to the Syrian opposition, and we've agreed in the European Union last week amendments to the arms embargo to allow us to send more, a wider range of non-lethal equipment that will do more to save lives, and a wider range of technical assistance and advice.
You're allowed to send now what sort of flak jackets, night vision goggles. You're allowed to send vehicles that are in some way armoured, but
we
to protect
can now
civilians.
Send more, and you'll understand that I'm going to make to Parliament the announcement about the details. That's the right thing. I believe very strongly in ministers making announcements to Parliament. So we will be doing that, and I don't rule out anything for the future. If this is going to go on for months or years, it's gone on for 2 years already, and more tens of thousands of people are going to die, and countries like Iraq and Lebanon and Jordan are going to be destabilised. It's not something we can ignore. I know people will say, well, why do we have to do anything or be involved at all? And these are the reasons why we can't just sit it out in Syria.
OK, you can't sit it out, but you say you will not rule out giving arms to the Syrian opposition. How do you ever know if that happens? How do you know whose hands those end up in? Because the opposition is not some homogenous group, is it?
Like everything, they're telling you now what they are already doing. They've been supplying arms to this region for years and years and years. In that clip, Hague sounds like such a loving, caring man, doesn't he? An upstanding man of morals and dignity. The truth is, he couldn't give a shit about the people in Syria. He cares about doing the bidding for his paymasters, the same people as Cameron's, the Rothschild scum.
Hime, the UN envoy, who's a softly spoken diplomat, said this week that Assad thinks and is told by his inner circle that all of this is an international conspiracy, not the actual rebellion and revolt of his own people. So I think this will go down as one of the most delusional interviews that any national leader has given in modern times.
One of the most delusional interviews given by a national leader in modern times, for suggesting an international conspiracy to remove him and that Al-Qaeda are the rebels. International conspiracy, eh? Just like Libya wasn't an international conspiracy to remove stroke kill Gaddafi. And talking of the rebels being Al-Qaeda, are these the same rebels that have slaughtered civilians and fed them to dogs? The same rebels that are committing war crimes? The same rebels that are in fact documented as being Al-Qaeda? I'm not saying Assad is a good guy. I just want you to have a think about both sides in this fight. Things are never as black and white as what we're told by the people on television, namely MPs. But in order to realise this for yourself, you have to do some digging and be able to add 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. Why do we have endless wars around the world? Why do we always vote in MPs that seem to know best and never listen to the people who voted for them once they're in Parliament? I'll tell you why. Money. Selling weapons makes money, and shareholders want to increase their return, so the weapons need to be made, but not only made, they can't store these things on the shelves, they need to be used, hence endless wars for endless profits. There is a saying that goes like this: if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. It truly is time to try something different.